Hi, this is Rick, and I'm confused. And I want to talk about my confusion. And this is not a setup that I don't have a grand answer at the end of this thing. I really am confused. And it was hopeful that some of you might say, yeah, me too, or here's how we handled it, whatever it might be. So I want to tell you about the Grunt. This was an underground newsletter inside an organization. And it was made in secret. And it was made on a mimeograph machine. Now, I know a lot of you might not know what a mimeograph machine is. It predates the personal copier. And as I recall, you would have a big sheet of paper that would have a carbon on it, and you would write whatever you're going to write or draw something. And then you would put it on this big roller, and you would get the roller going, and it would make out however many copies you wanted. And it generally was kind of a sloppy thing, and you would get stuff on your hands, but nevertheless, it worked. And so someone found or had a mimeograph machine, and it seems like they were actually using it in the organization. So they were taking some risk to put this stuff out. And the Grunt, if you can imagine by the name, it's not a newsletter filled with crossword puzzles or, hey, guess whose birthday it is. It was hard hitting. The language was hard hitting. There was nothing polite about it. After all, it was called the Grunt. And so it seems to me that leaders might have had three choices. One is to ignore it and hope all that went away, which I think would probably be a pretty bad choice, but they actually came up with a worse choice. But the second choice would be that they could get curious. They might be angry, they might be hurt, but they go, we really need to pay attention to that because we're all going to have to be working together to make this project and that initiative work well. So we need to be willing to talk and especially to listen. So that would be easy, but might be a thing that a lot of us would, hope that they would do and actually make suggestions that could make that happen. But they chose the third option was they blew up. They just were furious that this happened. And they went in search of the person or the people who were creating this underground newsletter. No curiosity. Well, the only curiosity was who did it and how are we going to punish them? Okay? So that took place in the early 1980s. Okay? So a lot's changed, and I haven't worked in an organization that's had the Grunt, but that same kind of thing can happen where people are afraid to talk to management, and it'll just be too costly. So they stay quiet, or they say, hey, nice job, whatever it might be. And I'm really curious. I'm not interested so much in techniques, although you're certainly welcome to share those. I'm curious about why does that still exist? Because today we know so much about what motivates people in the workplace. There's been a lot written on emotional intelligence and on social intelligence, on flow, on peak performance, all those kind of things that when they're used, tend to be very, very effective. And yet you can still go into places where people don't feel like they can speak the truth as they see it. So if you're confused by that, I would love to hear it. It would be great. We can commiserate or something. We can have a virtual cup of coffee together. Or you might say, I worked in an organization and here's how they changed. That would be really cool to hear about. And you don't have to name names if you don't want, but a success story like that moved from a Grunt experience to something far more productive and good for people would be great. And so any comments you have, just put them in the comment section on my LinkedIn post. And that way I will see them, but so will everyone else. And we may be able to actually start a conversation and we can learn from each other. So thanks a lot.